Now, in 1969 also, in April, you did Rape, which was a TV documentary in Vienna.
Well, it was filmed in London for Vienna, Austrian TV.
Right, for Austrian TV. How did that come about?
Well, it was just a filmic idea about just following a girl and keep following, just filming her. And what would happen to somebody who's totally exposed all the time, you know.
What we did was, we went to the famous hotel in Vienna to put it on the TV there. It caused a riot. It was the biggest reaction the Austrian TV had ever had. I mean, there was complaints. There's no sex in it. It was just a constant, you think something's going to happen all the time. But nothing ever really happens, just the pressure on the girl that she's cracking up under the strain of these strange people following around. Yeah. But the Austrians never saw us. We were, what's that hotel? The Chocolate Cake Hotel.
Yeah.
It used to be the Habsburgs' castle or whatever. And we're in there, but they never saw us, the Austrian press. We did everything in a bag. So we came down to the press conference in a bag, in the elevator. And the front page of the Austrian papers was all these people holding mics to a bag, you know. And all they said was, "But John, is that really you?" I said, "Yeah, it's me." "But how do we know?" I said, "Because I'm telling you." They said, "Oh, will you sing a song?" You know, I sang Maggie May and she sang some Japanese folk song or something to them in a bag. And a guy said, but I've waited years to see you. Why did you have to pick Austria to go in a bag?" I said, "Because we wanted to, you know."
You're smiling and giggling about it
we
now.
We love it.
Do you think you'd have smiled and giggled about it then?
We were. Are you kidding? You wanted to see what we were doing in the bag? We were cracking up in there. Like that. On some of the bag events, one of them where we didn't go to some Royal Command opening of a movie or something. We sent 2 Hare Krishna kids in the bag, and it was in all the English papers, John and Yoko arriving, and we said, well, if anybody asks you any questions, just keep singing Hare Krishna, because they'll think it's John and Yoko anyway. They're that daft enough to sing Hare Krishna, it must be John and Yoko. We watched it on TV, you know, we were peeing in our pants.
Let's move to June 1969, and the ballad of John and Yoko went to #1 in Britain and was top 10 in this country. Did that give you a feeling of satisfaction and of achievement, that you got a great success?
We never thought of it.
I never thought about it. No,
well,
I didn't even remember it was
remark,
#1.
Isn't it?
No, it was just, we were in Paris.
We were so busy doing things.
We were, you know, I mean, that period we were doing films, records together with the Beatles, bed-ins, and it was just.
But did you want
crazy.
did you want to detach yourselves as 2 people? I mean, you
no,
mentioned
the
that you
ballad of John and
doing...
Yoko was Paul and I made that record. He played bass and drums, and I played guitar and sang.
And in the back of your mind, was there a feeling that John and Yoko by this time definitely wanted to go their own way and create their own
music? No, we
music?
didn't think of it like that. It wasn't definite like that. We were just so busy and involved with things that we were doing, and we got so inspired every minute, you know, and so maybe it just sort of took a natural course.
Yeah, had the Beatles been less tense about it, there probably would have been some. There was a couple of jam sessions in Let It Be with Yoko and the Beatles playing, but they never got in the movie, of course. But I understand it all now. But then we said, well, she just wanted to join in everything.
Jam,
you know, just join in whatever was going on. So we had no conscious thing about, well, we're here and they're there. We were just making music.
You say they were tense, John. Was that because they feared an intervention, or because they feared that the 2 of you would eventually go your own ways, and that would be it?
I don't know whether they were conscious. I think looking back, you understand there'd be 4 guys very close together, and the women that we were with then, wives or girlfriends, had been the old-fashioned type of female that we all know and love, you know, the one that was in the kitchen all the time with the baby, and she never came to the sessions even. You never saw the wives, only for openings when they did their hair, you know. And suddenly we were together all the time, sort of in a corner mumbling and giggling together and doing 2 virgins and bags, and then Paul, George, and me think, what the hell are they doing? What's happened to him, you know? And my attention completely went off them. Now, it wasn't deliberate. It was just like I was so involved and intrigued with what we were doing. And then we'd look around and see that we weren't being approved. But I understand how they felt, because if it had been Paul or George Ringer that had fallen in love with somebody, got totally involved, suddenly it wasn't like, you know, George coming in and saying, I'm going to work with Eric Clapton in a band now and screw you. It wasn't that kind of thing at all. It was just suddenly this involvement.
It wasn't in our consciousness at all. No. And I was just amazed because I didn't know anything about England, really. And I was always in New York, so to speak. And to me, he was just another Englishman. I didn't know about the Liverpool and that, you know, all that sort of thing.
Just another Englishman, my dear.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. And just sort of, the first impression I got from him was he's sort of handsome and sort of nice. And tent, I thought. But anyway, so I didn't know about all these macho trip, that they were on. It was a real surprise.
It's an interesting way of putting it. It really is a macho trip.
Well, yes, I know what you mean. I mean, Beatle music is not a macho trip, and that's true. And he did look very nice, and sort of the feminine side of the society was represented by them in a way. There was that too. So they didn't come on like a box or anything,
If we move to May 1969...
You mean Benny Hill?
You have got a good memory. He's on over here.
No, he's on over here all the time. Tommy
here.
Cooper. There's so many English programs on in New York, especially, that you see everything.
Now you've brought the subject up, and before we go any further and move to the unfinished music number 2, let me just ask you...
Life with the Lions,
That's right.
B.B.
That's
Daniels
right.
and Ben.
Oh, now we're back with the BBC programmes again, aren't we? It still obviously means a lot to you. You've got a memory for all the names. As you sit here in New York, do you ever get the itch to think, it'd be nice to go back and have a look?
Oh, yeah, but as I always say to any Englishman I meet, most English people I meet are expatriates, I mean, as I was saying off stage before, I've been to Singapore, Hong Kong, Cape Town, Johannesburg, and all points east and Caribbean and Pacific places where Somerset Maugham and all those people that I like to read and read about were, and the famous place in Singapore, the Hotel Rattles or Ruffles or something, where they'd all be.
Raffles, yes.
So, as Churchill said, it's the Englishman's inalienable right to live where the hell he likes. So, and as I say to an Englishman, say, well, don't you get homesick and come back? I said, what do you think? It's going to vanish? It's not going to be there when I get back?
But he's very English at heart. And I mean, just this morning, it was just this coincidence because we're meeting you now and, this all very English thing. And he saw this Liverpool in this book and he started choking up, really, Liverpool.
I'm supposed to be tough,
Yeah, I know what you mean. But the combination is very peculiar.
But
the macho side and the other side.
It's a traditional English thing from Drake or whatever on to go everywhere, But I do find myself in English parts of the world, and it's very interesting.
Do you have many English friends in New York at the moment, John?
Well, as the Moonlight on the Water song says, no friends and yet no enemies. I'm either working or family-oriented. I don't do a lot of socializing with people of any nationality. And offhand, I can't think of anybody, English or American, that I particularly hang around with. We've been self-involved since we met, and we're totally self-contained.
Self-contained.
I mean, when Elton or Bowie or Mick are around and we're in the mood to mix, we see them, they're English, right? I forget. You see, I don't always divide people into nationality, I mean, it's just Bowie's in town now doing Elephant Man.
Yeah, we saw it last night.
I haven't seen it, but I would consider him a friend or acquaintance. I don't know how close you'd put it, because I've worked with him and we both know him. So in that respect, the rockers that come through, I see them.
So if we go back to May 69 and we talk about Life with the Lions, Yoko, you were in bed on the cover, I think I'm right in saying?
Yes, we had a miscarriage or something, did we?
Well, you had a miscarriage and I was there.
Right, exactly.
Reality of it.
Yes, you'd had great problems, hadn't you, conceiving?
I know, we had many miscarriages.
We did?
Yes, about 3 maybe.
Yeah, enough to make us miserable about it, think we could never have a child. But we did. An English doctor told me something wrong with my sperm, because of the hard life I'd led.
Go into that.
And he said I could never have a baby, that we could never have a baby because of me. But we met this Chinese acupuncturist in San Francisco. He said, I thought you have baby, you just be good boy, eat well, no drugs, no drink. And that's what I did, and we had a baby.
And Sean is living proof.
He is, yeah.
He is, right.